Hey everyone, it's Becca at So Darn Twisted, and I am back with the second of the techniques for creating and binding books for your junk journals. And today we're going to do a quick and dirty build that I can then go on and carry on with showing you how to actually bind pages to a book of this size. And this, I decided to actually make a cover from scratch so that you guys can see how that's done, apart from anything, but also to make a much bigger one than usual. Let me just see. So if you can see there, that's quite a chunk bigger than the standard hardback book size that I often make, because I had a lady ask me in one of my groups, one of my ladies, and she said that when she watched the last video and then she noticed that the pages were folded in half to put in as the signatures, what do you do if the pages are just the size that you need them to be and so you can't fold them in half? So I thought, well, okay, that's an ideal thing to make for the next journal, so it can kind of kill multiple birds with one stone. I am going a little bit fancy, but only a little bit with this one, and you don't have to do the rest of the bits that I am doing. You can start off, you know, with literally just this. These bits are because I want to create a box journal out of this one, but it's effectively, it works exactly the same way. So there isn't much point in giving measurements, generally speaking, for things like this, because it purely depends on what size you want your finished book to be. So if you know that you have particular paper that you want to be able to show as a whole piece of paper, then obviously your cover needs to be, you know, at least ½ an inch bigger each way to compensate so that it's not overhanging the edge. So as I say, it is completely dependent on what you want to make. I'm just using artboard, poster board, which is very robust, absolutely brilliant for the covers. It's what I make whenever I make my own covers. It's what I make, what I use to make them with. My God, where are my words today? So effectively, once you have measured what your front and back cover need to be, you also then need to decide on the width of your spine. So obviously that is going to be in here. So you need to decide how many signatures you want, and obviously how filled you want your journal to be. Do you want a really big gaiter fold? You know, are you not worried about that? Do you want it to be able to close properly? There's different factors to take into account, but for something like this, I'm thinking I'm going to put in 3 signatures, which is what I put into my standard hardback size books. But again, if I just grab my tutorial journal here, so that's got quite a wide spine because I built a bigger spine for that, and it's not massively wider than the tutorial spine. It's about ½ an inch, and I've got 4 signatures in that one, and that will start to gape as I fill it. So I think if I put 3 in this one, there'll be plenty of room for me to really pack it out. That said, I might change my mind and go for 4. We never know. I never know until I've seen how much paper I want to put in it, and then that kind of makes the decision for me. But yeah, less signatures if you want it to be able to fill it and it still close. More signatures if you either don't want to fill it too much, you know, if it's primarily a writing journal or just a page decorating journal, as opposed to making bulky things and then putting them into the journal. Then obviously you can have more signatures. So, or if you want it to gaiter, more signatures, fine. So that you need to make sure that these are all exactly the same height. Obviously you're going to need some tape. Ordinarily I use rug tape, carpet tape, to stick my cover onto the boards, but I've run out, so I'm gonna have to use glue today, which is upsetting in in the extreme. So I've had to hit Amazon and I've got to wait for some more to arrive. But the first thing that we need to do is to reinforce the joins of where the spine meets the covers, and for the purposes of what I'm doing, I'm going to be adding on the extra sections, so that, which of course, you know, you're welcome to craft along for that, and I'll show you how to make the necessary adjustments for that. So once your spine, you know, here is your book, I am then going to have a panel that comes up here to create a box journal, and a flap that's going to come over here that will then lock on to the front of my journal. So to make a rough measurement for that, what you need to have is whatever your spine is, you want about 1/2 centimetre, depending on the thickness of your mount board. For this, it's worked out as 1/2 centimetre, and I'll tell you how I come to that. So effectively, I need to see what those two covers, what difference they make put together to this measurement. So you can mark it up really easily by just doing that on your board, so you know that it needs to come to here. This allows for the difference and gives you the room to fold it over without it trying to pinch it closed. So that's how you make it so it fits comfortably. So it's the width of your spine plus your front and back cover put together, and there's your measurement. So as I say, it's not a precise you know, 27.2 centimeters. It depends on your materials. So let's get cracking and we'll get started on taping this up. All right, so I've got some masking tape here to reinforce the joins with. Now, the best way to do this is to have a cutting mat like this, and let's just tear that off so I can do what I'm trying to do a bit easier. So what have we got here? Keep that along a nice straight line of your cutting mat, as straight as you can get it. Sometimes you might find that if you struggle with it, if you just get a little tiny tab of the tape, you can just tack it down at the top there, and that will just help when you come to try to line it up. So it's just a little thing that may help you. So let's get the second piece down. So what width have we got there? So my second one needs to come over here. It'll be a bit of a judgment call, you know, don't worry, it's fine. Let's have a little measure for that one. This tape is very curly today. Very curly indeed. It doesn't seem to want to stay put, which I'm not standing for. And now, there we go. There we go. Right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get your front or back cover, and you're going to put it on there about halfway, and make sure that you're keeping that as straight as you can. Okay, just use the lines on your cutting mat just to try and help you line that up. Then the second piece, and you need to leave a gap here of, you know, about 1/2 centimetre is usually okay, but again, make very sure that you are working, I'm stuck to my tape again, make sure that you're working with it straight. There we go, lovely. And then that's just needs to come over there a little bit. See, as I say, there's not a precise science to it. Well, I dare say there are for some people, but for me, I just kind of wing it, you know. Just like, oh, I wonder. There we go. So am I still following that same line? Yes, I am. Okay, lovely. So that is that section. Then you know that you can put your other cover on. And again, just keeping it nice and straight and getting that down. So when you get I mean, you can obviously use a ruler as you're doing this, just to make sure that you are in fact running in a straight line. As you put them down, you can even tape the ruler. You can buy kits as well that that help you do that, but you know, once you get the hang of it, you don't really need them. But yeah, you can always just tape a ruler, and then that will make sure. Okay, so if you've got some excess, just fold that up inside there. And try to keep it as smooth as you can. Okay, and then do the same for this one. Oh my life. Stuck that down too well, didn't I? It's okay. There we go. Fabulous. Okay, so now it's doing this. We're off to a good start. Okay, so we've got the extra layers of masking tape on there now, and that's all feeling quite nice and robust there now. It's not feeling as flimsy, so that's wonderful. Now if you are putting in the extra sections like I am, then go ahead and do those in exactly the same way. Alright, so now that we've put the masking tape on all the way around our joins, so if you're playing along with me and you're making it into the box journal, then yours will look like that. I'm pushing on it so it makes it keep going. But there you go, see that all sits really nice and squared off, you know, by allowing that little extra bit. It's not trying to push that downwards, and obviously if you're just working with the front and back cover, then you'll just have that part, and that's absolutely fine. So now we are going to move on to the covering, which I have now remembered that I have some beautiful faux leather effect vinyl here. So that, I don't know if any of you recall the mini butterfly journal commission I did recently. I don't think I posted it on YouTube, but I posted it in my groups and on my Facebook and everything. So yeah, it was what I used to cover that. It's, in fact, it's the reason I bought this in the first place, was to make the mini journals with, and I just absolutely love this. Now obviously, unless you've got one giant piece, you are going to end up with seams, and you can combat that by obviously using trims and stuff. So what I try to do is I try to keep it so that as many as possible of the seams line up, you know, with just over the existing seams that I've created using the tape. So, you know, for this one, I'd go kind of just each side of it, so just past that line really, and then all the way down, stick that bit down, and then I've got a spare bit for over there as well, which is great. So I'll just get that out of my way a second and get my ruler and my trusty scalpel, and just make sure that I keep that squared, because I have a tendency to never cut straight. But you know, we know that. You guys have been around me long enough now, surely, to know that me and cutting straight, no, we don't work well together. Okay, beautiful. So that should now fit just each side of the widest points of my masking tape. So that means that when I then create the join of overlapping the vinyl pieces, I can then use my trim and it will just cover everything, so I won't end up with a bump there and a bump here, and you know, it just helps to minimize it. I personally have found. I'm not saying that anybody who doesn't do it that way is wrong, or that that's even the best way to do it, just that's the way that I figured out to do. Okay, so yeah, that bit will go across around there nicely. That will just fold onto that bit for me. I could do with being a little bit wider actually on that one. But that's okay, because that's okay. This one will work okay. Yes, we've got this, don't worry. Okay, so basically you're just going to go along. If you're using smaller sheets like I am, if you're using a massive sheet, skip ahead. Alright, so I've got all of my pieces ready, and I'm going to cover the sections first where there are the box joins, so the sides basically, the spine 1 and spine 2. So the best way to do this, if you're using vinyl, is to just fold back a little bit of your backing paper. Then you're going to line that up. Oh, it's got really dark in here. Hold on, I'm just going to turn on the light, which might help a little bit. Not massively, no. The sun just got really strong, so it's just creating some really, really strong shadows right now. So I'm just going to get that so that it's about equal overhang. So about there. And I'm just going to give that a little push. And then just gradually, a little bit at a time, just so that you know you're keeping it nice and smooth. You're not getting lumps and bubbles, you know, and it's not getting stuck to itself or anything else, so you know it's going to stay down and it's going to be fine. Okay, so just basically keep doing that on both of these sections. Okay, so I'm just using my Cricut scraper tool actually, just to locate the dip for the joins, just so that I can give it a little helping hand there. And then we're just gonna flip this over. So this does not like to stick to the masking tape itself, which I'm just finding out now. So I may have to actually glue this to the tape, or even tape it to the tape, who knows. We shall see, we shall see. Okay, so that's my 2 joins on. We'll worry about the inside in a bit. And now it's basically just a case of rinse and repeat. So now you're at the point of folding the corners around on your inside cover, so you can obviously either do the fold method that way, like a lot of actual old leather journals used to have, and then you'll just have to glue down that little seam there if you do it this way, but it just looks really nice. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that on the corners, and then we're gonna swap it over and do the same on these corners as well. Alright, so we've got our cover on, and I'm just going over it with my little scraper tool and just really pressing down, you know, all of the joins and everything, and just making sure everything's sitting nicely. And then obviously the next step is to put on the inside of the cover. Alright, so now that we've got the outside cover put on, these are our next tools. We're going to need some, well, you might need some ink and an ink dauber, some double-sided tape, or this is still double-sided tape, but it's carpet tape. I managed to get some because I had to film this tutorial in a few parts because, yeah, I was ill. So yeah, I've had to sort of put this off a little bit, but This is, yeah, it's rug tape, carpet tape, that kind of thing, and it just holds just about everything. It's fantastic. Corner punch if you want rounded corners on your edges. Scissors for your tape, and if you're going to bind it the same way that I am, you're going to want a hole punch. This is the long reach crocodile, so it's nothing majorly exciting. It's just big, and you can get further in, so you can make the holes coming all the way down the spines without having to worry about not being able to get to them, or trying to punch them out with something else that, you know, may not do the job as well because the board's quite thick. So I've gone ahead and cut out the card that I'm going to use to line the book as well, so that's all in place and dandy. And I've cut that to the size that it needs to be to cover all of my all of the inside of the cover. Words are gone today. They're on holiday. Words do not want to join me, apparently. I'm absolutely covered in ink and glue, and it's just been a bit ridiculous, really. But it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so if you're going to round off the corners that meet the 4 edges, go ahead and do that now. Just remember, don't do the ones on the inside pieces. And obviously if you're going to ink the edges, then also do that now as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that for all of this. Alright, so I've got the corners and the edges all sorted out now. They're all clipped and I've aged all of the edges. So now it's just a case of gluing or taping them onto the inside of your cover. So how you choose to do that obviously depends on your own preferences or what you have available. Personally, I try not to use glue so much if I've printed what's going to be on the inside cover, because some glues react with the inks from printers, like home printers and stuff, and it can make them go a bit strange. The Yoo-hoo glue that I usually use doesn't tend to interfere, but I prefer to just err on the safe side and use the tape. So however is best suited for you, just go ahead and get that glued in now, or taped in, as I say. You just make sure that you've got your lines nice and straight. Yep, they're going to fit perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw some tape down. So I'm just going to use this and put it on in strips. So yeah. Okay, I've got most of the tape on. I'm just going to have to do that last piece last. The downside of using the carpet tape is that everything will stick to it and you get one chance. The upside is it will stick pretty much everything to everything. So, you know, not so bad after all. Now, what you'll need to do is make sure that you push your tape down into the spine creases. Obviously you're likely only going to have 2 creases if you're just making a standard size journal, but obviously on something like this I have more. So we're going to start by getting our first piece, and we're just going to pull some of this tape off. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's got like a sort of a stranded mesh that runs through it, and that's what makes it really strong as well. It's fantastic stuff, but like I say, you really do only get one chance to stick down what you're going to stick down. Once it's on, there's no going back. So yeah, you just have to be very sure of where you're putting something from the get-go. Okay, so once that first one's on, just give that a nice little, and then we're going to go down. Where's my bone folder? here it is. So yeah, we're just going to kind of push that into those creases. Obviously you don't want to split it, but you do want it to bend. So you're just going to gently, there we go. So you need to get it to the stage where it will go over, because that is going to affect the alignment of this, you see, because when that comes fully open, it can move this across that way, and fully closed it can push it that way. It does depend on what material you're using. So just, that's one of the reasons why it's better to do this first. So there we go. So that's all nice and snug and happy. So now we can remove the backing of the next piece of tape. Oh, there we go. And give that a good glue down. Lovely. Okay, next. Obviously this one has a spine as well, so I want to push this into the spine before I let it go down onto the rest of the glue. So let's just give that a nice push, and then I'm going to fold, and then I'm going to push that down on the next piece of glue. If I move that over a little bit, you can see a bit better what I'm doing there. Okay, you with me so far? Nice and easy, right? Okay, let's get the last bit of tape backing off to this one then. Fabulous. See, that looks lovely and tidy, doesn't it? And oh so easy. There we go. Oh, I've got a little bit of tape poking out the bottom there. I'll trim that out after with some tweezers, it's fine. If you do find that any little corners haven't caught the tape or anything, don't worry. You can put a little bit of glue, you know, just behind there. I just wouldn't want to swamp the whole thing with glue, because as I say, I have seen people have really bad experiences there. So, okay, let's get this next one off. Now, because this one is actually sitting on a join, the empty space, I should say, is sat on a joint. I've got a piece of backing tape behind there, it's driving me crazy. There we go. Yeah, because where this is going to sit, there's no tape behind it, so I'm just going to get a piece of just regular double-sided tape, just to make sure that that join has something to really stick to. So, little scissors. There we go. The one major downside, well, yeah, a downside of the carpet tape is it can make your scissors quite gummy. If that happens, just get some lighter fuel and like some kitchen paper, and it'll just wipe off. It'll be fine. It's much easier. Okay, that looks nicely lined up there. Let's just pull that down and check the top is lined up. Yes, it is. Okay, so there we go. That's your next piece started. Obviously, like a lot of these things, when you're actually doing it, it doesn't take so long. It's just because you're having to do it slowly to, you know, to do a tutorial about it. You have to take your time, you have to explain what you're doing. Normally I'd go through this in, you know, like a third of the time, but it's always a bit better when you're just getting started to just take it a little bit slow and steady, and then you make less mistakes. So okay, next piece off. And again, this piece is sitting in a spine crease, so again I'm going to hold it up away from the tape and just push that down into that crease nicely, and then I'm going to lift it, which may interfere with the camera here. Let's see what I can do. Oh no, okay, so basically you guys won't be able to see this part, but it's exactly the same as the last part. I'm just literally pushing that down while this is folded all the way over. That's it, and then we'll loose it back down. Fabulous. There we go. Okay, this will stop like resisting and everything. Once it's been opened and closed a few times and stored closed, it will stop trying to buckle. It's just because it's fresh and the card on the joins is still really stiff. So don't fret about that. Really freaked me out the first time because I thought I'd done everything right, and every time I tried to close the book it would just ping open again. I go, what the hell, what's going wrong, what have I done? And it would all be like this, you know, sort of bending upwards and stuff, and it's like, no, don't worry about it, it's fine, everything's fine. Okay, so we're just gonna slightly overlap again. Let's just see what I want from that side. Yeah, that should do it. Let's just check we're level at the top still, because once it's on, it's on. Yeah, there we go. Obviously, I'm fully aware that there might be people that really don't care, you know, if it's all straight or anything. But if I'm going to show you how to do something, I'm going to show you how to do it this way, and, you know, everything's nice and proper. Because, yes, of course, you can be slapdash about it if you want to be. Nobody's stopping you, you know. But, yeah, I like to just make sure it's all in as it should be. Okay. So, next piece of backing paper. Oh, there we go. And again, all the way down. At least that's the last spine coming up there. No, that was the last spine, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we're done. We're at least done with that now. They're the hard parts. The rest of it is so easy. And to be honest with you, I normally cover the inside with card and the outside with fabric, and I've always found that the fabric is just so much easier than the card, which was surprising. To be honest, I thought that the fabric would be the more difficult one of the two, but it's really not. Okay, so as you saw earlier, we have a bit of a gap here. Now you can just go ahead and fill that with, you know, a couple of strips of regular double-sided tape, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut myself another piece of this at the right length. So let's just see, what have we got there? So I need to trim that there. As I say, it can be very sticky on your scissors. Okay, so I'm going to fold that one out of the way. I'm going to take the backing paper from this one, if it will actually let me do so. There we go. And before this one has a chance to do anything, I'm just going to flip that over and stick it down where it needs to go on there. And then it's all happy days and plain sailing. Because now we just whip that one off as well and glue this to the two pieces. There we go, fabulous. And that doesn't suffer from having them folded back a little bit, you know, the glue, the tape will just pull that back straight again. Okay, so now I like to just, you know, really give it a go. Oh dear. Apparently my hands feel otherwise today, but we will persist. Okay. So, now we're just going to give these ones a good bend. That's all going fabulously. While you're bending it, just keep pressing down on these bits. This bit I have still got to secure down, but don't worry, I will deal with that bit afterward. But we're just going to give these a good working. Let's say just keep doing that, because sometimes it does just buckle a little bit, you know, so it just helps to even the buckling out before everything sort of properly settles. And there we go. We now have a box, which the camera can't quite pick up, but there you go. Nice box. Okay, so that's your cover finished. Now we've just got to make the eyelet holes to put your signatures in. Alright guys, so we're on to the next stage now of the making of the Steampunk journal, and I'm going to show you now how to put eyelets in your spine to sew your signatures through, because Last time I did the hidden spine method, so I thought this time I'll do the external binding method, because I know a lot of people want to know how to do that one. It does look really, really attractive, and it was one that I was dying to do for ages, and I never actually managed it until I did the As Above So Below journal. And that was when I first figured out how I could do it, and it was hard work. So that's why I got this, which is, as I said in the previous video, I think it was, this is just like the Crocodile 2 Big or something like that. But obviously the reason I've got this one is because if I've got a really big cover like this one, being able to go all the way down the spine, get to the middle and stuff like that, can be very, very difficult, because obviously your normal hole punch just won't reach, so you end up having to use other tools to make the holes, which is a lot harder than using this. So obviously make sure if you are using one of these that you're using the right size of the actual punch part, that bit that's poking through just here. So excuse me, so make sure you've got it on the right setting for your size of eyelets. So I've got my handy little tub here that has all my eyelets and yeah, paper clips and things like that, and split pins. Very useful to have them all in one place in my big box. They've got all these little compartments, and they're just really, really cool, because you can keep things separate and just take out the one that you want rather than needing the whole thing. So because I move my stuff around a lot between my craft room and the front room, because I can't sit in the craft room for long periods of time anymore. So I have to go and sit on the sofa. So I've had to adapt. And I keep some of my crafting stuff downstairs, which is where I've got my nice portable box, and I can just bring it upstairs when I'm doing a tutorial. So obviously I'm going to want to move this over to the big hole punch, which, can you just see that one coming through? That's the big boy. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to measure out your spine, because obviously, as I've said in previous videos, your measurements are your measurements. They're not going to be the same as mine unless you've, you know, specifically got these measurements. So all you need to do is find out what the depth of your spine is. So mine is 28 centimeters, but I always like to leave at least 2 centimeters to 2.5 centimeters before I start measuring for holes. So I kind of go, you know, I'm going to want to be kind of there for the very top one. And let's turn that around. And for here, we're looking just here. I'm just using pencil, so this can be rubbed out afterwards anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to measure the distance between those two. Which obviously I could use maths to work out, but I don't want to. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to prefer that to be at 2 centimeters, because I think I'll get a better, a better space from it if I do 2. Let's make that a bit visible, shall we? And same here. Turn it round, Becca. It's easier. You're not poking yourself in the stomach or anything else for that matter. There we go. Keep it about the same there, and just mark that. Okay, so technically now that should be 24 centimeters between those two. Yes. Okay, which makes spacing really nice and easy, because you can say, okay, I'm going to have my first eyelet here, and then you're going to take the 24 and just divide it in equal increments. So you can do one at 6 centimeters, one at 12 centimeters, which will be your middle hole, because it's better if you've got an odd number, I find, when it comes to actually binding in. So you've got 12, then you've got 18, and then you've got your 24. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're beautifully even. So you know that that's going to be your spacing here. So then your spine, measure your spine from where the ridge kind of sits proud, you know, sits up. This one is disappearing a little bit, I don't know why. Okay, so that is going to be, let's call that 7, oh no, it's going to be 8 centimeters. I'm lying. Yeah, 8 centimeters. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it so that I'm at least a centimeter away from the edge of the spine. So if I have a centimeter mark here, and where's that gone? Where is it gone? There it is. There it is. Okay, where's my marker? Okay. Right, so we now have 6, which again makes it really beautifully easy. So we can just put the 3, yeah, holes. I know what I'm talking about. Good Lord. So, okay. So I'm going to have 6, 3 and 1 as my spacing. So now that I know that, I can make myself, I can either make a template, whereby, let me get a piece of card. Okay. So I can make myself a template that I know is going to be 8 centimeters wide by 28 centimeters deep. And then I can make all my markings on here and punch through them using this if I just secure it onto the cover. So if we know that it's going to be 8 centimeters wide, and I know that this is a straight edge, so I can just go ahead and mark up these. I dare say some people say it's easier if you do it a different way, but this is just my method. If you know of an easier way and you want to do that instead, go ahead. I'm not stopping anyone. Okay, we'll say there's no wrong way, no right way. This is just the way that I do it. So I'm going to draw a line down there and I'm going to cut that down now. All right, so there is my 8 by 24 piece that's going to sit on my spine there. So I'm going to grab my pencil again, which I'm lost in the depths. Okay, so again, now that we know our measurements, this part is really easy. So we're just going to make sure that we can get a straight line across there at the 2 centimeter mark. Oh, where's my dot gone? There it is. Okay, so that's my 2 centimeters that end. Do the same this end. And it'll be done in no time now. Again, like I said in the previous video, is that when you're trying to teach it, it takes longer than it does if you're actually doing it, but you know, it's okay. Right, so what we're going to do now is, oh, get up there, we're going to take the 1 centimeter off each edge. So that's going to be 1 and 7, and then that should be now your 6 with a marker for 3 in the middle. Okay, are we getting that all right? Do the same thing this end. So you're marking it at 7, you're marking it at 1, and then you're marking it at 3. If you wanted to bring them in a bit more, you know, you can absolutely do that. It just depends on how you want to do it, really. Okay, so now I know that that and that are my 1 centimeter marks. So I can just go ahead and draw a line down there. This is my 3 centimeter mark. And this is my 1 centimeter mark. Sorry, that was 7. What am I talking about? Well, I'm going to turn it around anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, let's just get that last one in. Okay, cool. So now we're going to put one across the measurements going downwards. So again, we know that we're ignoring the first 2 centimeters, and we know that we're going to have one at 6, 12 18, and obviously your 24 is already there. Do exactly the same thing here. So 6, 12, oh, it's a bit wonky there. That's it, 12, 18, and 24. Turn it over. Last one. And then we get to have some punchy fun. Yay! Okay, see, nice and easy. Draw yourself a little line across there, just so that gives you then, that is your centre point, you see, there. By doing that in a cross, it creates a perfect centre point. So even if your line is ever so slightly off, you know where your centre needs to be now. Because you see, that one is just ever so slightly off. So I know now that that's my centre. It's a beautiful thing about measuring. But obviously, you know, if you wanted to just throw them in, you know, randomly, crack on. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. There's no good reason for it. Okay, so let me get some masking tape. Okay, now to make it easier to see, I'm going to turn that over. And then I'm just going to grab myself, as I say, some masking tape, painter's tape, I think it might be called, for across the pond. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I think that's what it's called. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's lined up nice and straight across there. Just, it's better to, it's like the whole, you know, measure twice, cut once theory. It's much better to measure it twice, and then if you're wrong, you can correct it. Okay, so that's that one. And then that one on. Obviously, if you've got a paper cover or anything, you make sure it's low tack tape so that it doesn't tear your paper when it comes off. Okay, time to get the beastie out. Okay, because I'm doing this on camera, so it's a really awkward angle, I have just added some circles around my centre points, just so that I can try to see a little bit better, because obviously the angle that I'm using is far from ideal for actually seeing what I'm doing. So you need to just line up your punch and make sure that obviously it's in the right place. That needs to come back just ever so slightly. That should be better now. Yeah, there we go. So I know that's my locking point now for each end. So we're just going to go ahead and punch through that. She says like it's the easiest thing in the world. Okay, that's one. Lovely. Okay. Oh, that's moved. Why has that moved? That shouldn't have moved. That's my fault. I think I've knocked it. Okay. How are we doing there? Yeah, that's about right as well. Okay, that's 2. And there's 3. Oh, yeah, I definitely did knock that in, didn't I? Okay, see, so that's all lovely now. That's gone through. So now we need to move it up for the next set. I'll just show you how to do the next one, and then the rest should be pretty easy. So just, if you've got this particular crocodile, obviously, then this is just about really setting your marker to make sure that you're in the right place, because if you look down the side of it, you can just see where it's actually landing, so you know if you're in the right spot or not. Okay, so now I know that that's the right measurement. I just have to make sure that I'm in the right place. Yes. Okay, and one more. I'm gonna have to actually move the crocodile because I've run out of back of desk. All my jars of buttons in the way, that's what that is. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on now and just punch out the rest of these. All right then, so as you can see now, we have all of our eyelets in place and they're all looking a bit swish. So I'll look at the back there. So yeah, they're all doing really nicely. So with that done, it's time to move on to the signatures.